All right, so we're back to look at draft 3.3 of H97. So Tim, go ahead and point us toward the updates here.
Good morning, everybody. Again, for the record, my name is Tim Devlin, Legislative Counsel. For you, you have draft 3.3 of the strike all amendment to House Bill 97. The new language has been highlighted for your reference and can be found at the bottom of page 5. And here, under candidate demographic information, specifically section 6, which amends Title 17 VSA, section 2359, subdivision B, which, let's see, that's right. Yes, that now reads subsection B, in any listing of candidate information collected pursuant to subsection A of this section, the Secretary of State shall not publish information pertaining to candidates' gender, age, race, or ethnicity unless in aggregate form.
Getting thumbs up from Representative Hooper. Any questions about that piece? Thank you very much for getting that on the fly, Tim.
Welcome. And the other addition is, or I should say modification, can be found at the top of page 7. And this is in regard to write-in candidate minimum thresholds in primary elections, section 9, which amends Title 17 VSA, section 2370, specifically subdivision A2, which will read, actually I'll read section A in its entirety here for context. A write-in candidate shall not qualify as a primary winner unless the candidate receives the higher of 1, 10% of the votes cast by a party plus 1 additional vote, or 2, the same number of votes as the number of signatures required for the candidate's office on a primary petition, except that if a write-in candidate receives more votes than a candidate whose name is printed on the ballot, the candidate shall qualify as a primary winner. And then I've highlighted subdivision B because we've removed some text in between and shifted up the subsection there. Subsection B is actually restored to its original, how it's found in the Vermont statutes annotated currently.
That accomplishes what we asked for. Any questions on that piece? Okay.
And that concludes all updates between this draft and the one you that the committee was reviewing before the break.
All right. Thank you very much, Tim. So, committee discussion. Anybody have any thoughts they'd like to put on the table before we move this thing along? Representative Hooper?
I support and plan to vote for this in this form. I wish we would have done more to directly impact the fusion issue, parties being somewhat of entities of their own, but that discussion will continue to evolve.
Representative.
So I'm still not on board. I'll just talk about one issue, and that's the sore loser provision. Folks talked about it throughout our testimony in regards to options for voters. And again, I'd just like to think about the federal U.S. House race where a Republican won the primary who really wasn't a Republican in my mind. And if I was running against that individual, I would certainly, through expressions from my constituency, like to be able to run again as an independent. And I would probably do that if I had enough support. But this eliminates that. And so there's other provisions in here too that I have a concern with. I think the whole demographics piece is just an attempt to line us all up in certain categories, and I don't necessarily appreciate that. I think, folks, I would hope would vote for us for what they know about us and our political stance on things. So, and it was revealed that most of that information is on our biographies and our legislative books as well. So, for a number of reasons, and not that this should be that much of a concern, but I'm sure the Senate is gonna come back with all kinds of changes. So, thank you. But I'd like to express my appreciation for the work that we've done in taking out pieces and working on pieces just to the last minute here. I appreciate the process.
Anybody else want to weigh in?
I would just echo what Rep. Higley just said. Similar concerns. I've talked to him about those concerns as our ranking member here, and I share similar concerns. That's where I stand at the moment. Thank you.
Representative Boyden?
I don't love this bill, but I also don't dislike it. And I think it should move forward as it's a vehicle for change. It's gonna change on our floor, it's gonna change in the Senate. But I think we've done good work in committee. It's also been a little bit of rushed work, I would say. We don't have another election in the near future. We have a lot of calendar time to work on this too. Just my thoughts.
Representative Hancock?
Thank you. I also want to thank you for working really hard with everybody to try to make changes to make it a more comprehensive piece of legislation that because it started out as a committee bill that represents all of our views. I do want to say that the process, how it started and how we went through the process, I wasn't really thrilled with. I have a lot of trouble with changing on the fly, and you'll find that out, that makes me really want to take a step back and have time to digest it. So at this point, I'm not willing to support the current version, although I like some of the changes that were made.
Representative Hooper?
So I think I expressed this adequately, not very well yesterday, but I've never been excited about this bill. There are many aspects of this piece of policy that I can't fully appreciate for reasons that are fundamental. But I am optimistic that this thing can take a different shape in the future and as it goes through the public policy process. But today, I will vote yes, though I wish we were voting on Tuesday.
Anyone else? I want to thank this committee for some really thoughtful work. I put a number of things on the table that I knew were going to be hard, that were going to ask us to think about what does our party designation mean? What is the designation that the state prints on a ballot for a voter when it comes to the primary nomination that they've received mean? I think that we have done some great work to improve access when we look at the electronic returns piece. I think that there's a lot of committee consensus about especially that provision, and that's a good one. I think that we've improved the party process, and I know that there are a lot of people at home, our constituents, who are really disillusioned with political parties. And I want to deeply validate and acknowledge that the party process that we have in this country is deeply, deeply flawed. I put some things on the table that I think will spark more conversations. This bill probably has a long way to go before these things become law, to Representative Higley's point. But here today, I'm proud of the progress that we've made, and I want to see this move on. So with that, Representative Byron, would you move draft 3.3 if you're willing?
Happily. I move that the committee find draft 3.3 H97 favorable.
Any last comments? Clerk shall call a roll.
Representative Byram,
Yes.
Representative Boyden, yes. Representative Hango,
No.
Representative Morgan,
No.
Representative Hooper Burlington,
Yes.
Representative Maricki,
Yes.
Representative Chase,
Yes.
Representative Waters Evans,
Yes.
Representative Hooper Randolph,
Yes.
Representative Nugent,
Yes.
Representative Higley,
No,
Representative McCarthy.
Yes.
9-3-0.
Thank you all very much for the hard work. So we will be back here at 1 o'clock, but we will not be meeting on any policy. We will be gathering for an informational trip with our Senate colleagues and Senate Gov.Ops to the State Archives in Middlesex. So when we get back here at 1, we're not going to be back. So we'll be adjourning our business for the week, really this week. Next week, the week before the break, we've got a number of things on our agenda. So we've taken bits and pieces of policy testimony that'll inform a letter that we have been asked to comment on some things for the budget. So we'll be taking a little bit more digital services testimony. We'll be returning, hopefully with a consensus recommendation on the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Commission recommendations. We'll be picking up a little bit of work on the Cannabis Control Board, although I think that will save for action after the town meeting day break. There's a couple of other bill introductions and smaller pieces of policy that we'll tee up to do after the town meeting break as well. So we have a lot on our plate next week. Get some rest this weekend. Representative Mrowicki.
I think we would be remiss without thanking Tim, the amazing work he just did for us.
That is an
Good job,
amazing
Tim.
point.
Imagine it might drive him a bit.
Yeah, he did some very effective work. That is true.
Representative Mrowicki, you are absolutely 100% right. Tim, and I want to also add to my thanks for Tim Devlin of Legislative Council, Will Senning, Director Senning really gave us a lot of feedback. I also want to thank Carol Dawes from the Vermont Municipal Clerks and Treasurers Association. I know that one of the provisions they asked us for was hard, and we really thoughtfully considered it and opened it up, unpacked it, and then put it back in the box. So I appreciate everything that she brought and her help on all the other provisions. And I think we've done our best to try to make the changes that we've made have minimal or positive impact on clerks. Whenever we change anything about our elections, I always want to keep the clerks in mind, and Carol really did us a lot of service here as well. So Tim, thank you. I hope you get a break this weekend.